Alright, today I'm going to change the spark plugs on my 2003 Kia Sedona. Just to let you know where I'm at, I removed the cover already, and the air system, and I'll show you where that's at. Right over here. And what you do to remove it is there's a screw here, bolt there. There's a total of 6 different bolts in that need to be removed. Also remove your oil cap. I already replaced these 3 already, and they're fairly easy. You just simply unplug here and unplug here. To unplug these, there's a there's a little divot. You got to push that in, and then you can pull and unplug it. And these simply just pull and unplug. Here you've got 2 bolts you've got to remove, and then after you've done that, you simply pull these straight out, and then you can access your spark plugs on this side. And on mine, let's see, on mine the spark plug gap, if you can read that, is between 1 and 1.1 millimeters. And then the next thing you've got to do is remove this intake manifold, and in order to do that you've got to remove the bolts in there, and I'm not sure exactly which ones have to be removed, but I believe it's this one, this one, this one, here, here, these 2. I remove this one. You've got to remove this, your air intake system. The worst part about this is you've got to remove a bolt in the back here, at least 1 bolt as I recall, possibly 2, and it's hard to get to. I'll show you later in the video how I went about getting to it, but that's it for now. Alright, now that I've gotten into it a little bit, after you remove these bolts here, you remove the guard, and then that allows you access to these bolts in here. There's a nut back in here, bolts across the front here, and then there's a nut back here that needs to be removed. And there's a bolt here, a couple bolts here, looks like 2 bolts back here. This needs to be removed somewhere here. I believe, as I recall, you've got to pull this clip up and then slide that out. Let's see. And that's it for now. Okay, now I've removed the air intake, which involves removing a bolt here, 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 and there's a plug that went into here. So you just have to get a flat screwdriver, pry this little tab up, and then pull this out. And there's a screw here. Unscrew that. This plugs in here. It's got a clamp here. You pull it out, and you can remove that. Alright, now I've gotten more into the intake. There's a couple of hoses that need to be removed right here and here. This is one of the hoses here, and the other is right there. Or no, I take that back. This is the other hose that needs to be removed from there. And I'm coming across these bolts that are going to have to be removed here. See if I can get a better angle here. That. There's a bolt here. Pretty sure there's a bolt down here. So those 4 bolts have to be removed. The way I've removed this is I believe there's a couple Phillips head screws, 1 or 2 that have to be removed here, and this pulls that way. I always have a difficult time removing this. This is just a normal clamp you pinch here and pull back, but this is always so welded on from the heat that I always have a difficult time removing it. And I haven't done it yet, but I will. Alright, what I ended up doing to remove this plug is you can push this in here, you can depress that, and it'll slide right out. So if you have trouble with your finger pushing it in, you may want to get a small flathead screwdriver or a small screwdriver, push that in, and then slide it out. Also, I was talking about removing this, and it was just so difficult to try to remove. I've tried to do it in the past, and I may have and may not have, but what I ended up doing is I just simply pulled off the other side, which goes right into here, and that seemed to be much easier for me. Alright, let me show you this part. There's not 2 bolts that have to be removed, there's 3. This is how it sits on the motor, like about that. And back here are the bolts. 1, 2, 3. And just take your time getting to them. Like I said earlier, I use this to access it. And it's a 12 millimeter Craftsman. It's straight here, it's not tilted, and I'm able to access it pretty easily that way. Alright, I've gotten it loose. There's also another clip right here that has to be removed, and the way to remove that is you get a flathead screwdriver in the bottom, slide that out this way, and then slide it out from there. Alright, I've got the intake manifold off now, and here's where you access the spark plugs. 1, 2, 3, and just so to give you an idea of where the bolts go through on the back of the bracket, here's the 2 here, here's the 1 over here. As long as you're in here, I recommend you check these hoses. They're difficult to get to, if not impossible to get to, without removing that, so I would check those as long as you're in there. And also I bought spark plug wires. As long as I'm here, I don't want to have to pull this off again just to access those spark plug wires, so I replace that as long as I'm doing it. One thing I'd recommend you have on hand is this gasket here. In the past, I've had to replace this, and if it's not handy, it can be a pain in the neck. So I would buy that. It's only, I don't know, maybe $1 or $2, whatever it is. It's worth having handy, just in case it breaks. I've always had this gasket here, this intake manifold gasket, handy, and I have over 150,000 miles on this vehicle, and I've never had to replace it. Of course, if you don't get it, you'll have to replace it. But so far so good on that. Alright, there's one more bolt on the back side here. I don't know if I can show it to you, if you can see it, but that's it right there. That has to be removed just to give you some perspective from the back, or where it's at on the position of the motor. It's back towards the right there, and that's got to be removed. Alright, as I was changing the spark plugs on this vehicle, I realized there's a little bit of oil there. You can see that. And so what I did was I looked in here and I saw these valve cover gasket screws, or valve covers rather, valve cover screws, and a couple of them were loose, so they're along this way here. Let's see, there's one here, another here, another there. Here they are in the back. I don't know if you can see them, if it's dark enough or light enough back there, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle, and then there's a couple of 3, I believe, on the back side. 1, 2, and 3. So I snug those all up, and hopefully that'll stop that. If it doesn't, you may need to replace that gasket. I've already replaced mine, maybe 20 or 30,000 miles ago, so I shouldn't have a problem with the gasket, hopefully. Another thing I recommend is, I believe that the stock plugs on this are the NGKs, and I don't care what the parts guy tells you. If he tells you some Champion spark plugs are compatible, I would not stick those in there. I wouldn't want to go through all this work just to find out that your car doesn't run right and you have to take them all back out and put in some NGKs. And I believe the wire set, the ignition wire set on this are Denzos. I double check that and make sure you get, try to get the original stock or good quality, because again, you don't want to go through the work if you don't have to. Alright, here's something that I think might come in handy for you. Here's the firing order of the vehicle. Here's where the spark plugs are located. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's the front firing orders 1 through 6. And it'll give you an idea if you ever have a check engine light come on and you have trouble with both your 2 and your 5 spark plug, for example. You can always check this coil. If you have trouble with your 1 and 4, check this coil, and your 3 and 6, you check this coil. If it's an individual, of course, you'd check each individual spark plug or the plug wire. But I thought that might come in handy for you. Alright, I've got this getting back together, and as I'm putting it back together, one thing I'm going to recommend you do before putting this manifold back on is plug in this back plug back here first before you put it on. Just set the manifold here and plug it in when it's sitting right here so you can see it and access it. It just makes it a lot easier from having done it in the past. So that's one helpful thing for you.